Hi, everyone. It's Will from EdTech Authority. We're so glad you're here. We have an incredible guest today. Sarah Jabeen from Mekumi is with us. She is super smart. I know you're going to enjoy listening and learning from her. We're going to talk about leadership, what keeps you motivated, LMSs, and all of the other great things here on the EdTech Authority video podcast. Welcome. Hi, everyone. We appreciate you being here. I'm Will McCoy, CEO of EdTech Authority, and today one of our uh, guests is Sarah. Sarah's the CEO of Mekumi, and hi, Sarah. It's great to have you here.
Hi, good to see you again.
Well, thanks. Sarah and I work together on the Mekumi product and helping some early stage traction and looking at the product and all those great things. So, Sarah, before we jump into Mekumi and all the great aspects of it, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Hmm. Um, my background in immersive learning is from wandering around in 2,000 villages in Bangladesh for about 8 years. So that's where I learned how people connect and how information can be passed between different walks of life mindfully. I used to run a travel company called Experience Bangladesh. So after that, I went into user experience design and I was very passionate about education. I never liked being in school because I was just a creative person and wanted to be immersed in projects. And so
Right.
I took on this life work. We call it Mekumi. And I'm basically running the company with a bunch of really enlightened founders and investors who all believe in the same vision of spreading support and love among
Wait,
educators and students.
well, and you really embody the heart and mind for me. I mean, you do a great job of staying balanced personally, as well as being a rock star on the tech side. And I think that that is, well, one, it's admirable, but two, I think it brings something special to your leadership. Can you tell me a little bit about Mekumi and tell our audience about Mekumi and the way that you're approaching this? Because if someone were to just say, "Oh, Mekumi's it's an LMS," that is a complete understatement, and I want everybody to really understand that. So tell us about
Mhm.
Mekumi.
So you've got LMSs, which basically give you an environment where you can put in whatever you want, and you get a simple login, and whatever is in that space is not something that is shared automatically with anyone else. And you've got content providers that basically you can license content from. So we're the bridge between LMSs and content providers. So you've condensed various systems into one streamlined instructional platform with collaborative tools. So it's the first learning platform that gives you the opportunity to edit content. And therefore, we can generate insightful analytics for educators and students because we're giving them data on usage and content. And you can make better decisions to support education. So that's the in technical language. And
Mhm.
in English, it's basically we wanted to provide an environment to support people. So teachers already have something to springboard off of. They already have content with all the lessons already planned inside. And then you can choose and drop and change whatever they want. And it's automatically shared with all the other teachers teaching that course in this district. And that basically helps to provide, the foundation for building a strong community, and also closes the loop for students so that they can give feedback for each and every single lesson. So they can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down so that you know every day which one's working and what's not. So it
Right.
basically makes sure that everybody is vested in the process.
Right. And you guys have some great early traction as well. With your work that you did in schools last year, you learned some lessons on how to
Mm-hmm.
make things better. I think that it's a strong product, absolutely, to begin with. But you also, what was it like to engage with learners for the first time? I know you've been developing the product for 4+ years, but you got it in front of kids and teachers. What was that experience like?
So we, in the first year, didn't know we wanted to have a platform. So year one of the company was basically just talking to different prospects and different school districts and seeing what their needs are. So we've had a platform for the past 2.5 years, and we've been very lucky to be endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce in Austin throughout the process. So we were in front of decision makers at universities, at school districts, so that we could keep testing and get feedback from the users. One of the interesting things we found out was that you can use small technical, incremental technical process to completely disrupt the classroom. Without, it's like a Trojan horse strategy by using
Right.
small little, incremental technology. Just like, for example, we'll say step one, upload your roster. Step two, put them in groups. And they were like, oh, I'm putting them in groups. And then the students, it changed the dynamic of the classroom instantly with every grading period, because we tell them to change the groups. And suddenly what they found out was that students did not know how to interact with other personalities. So now they had to practice it every single day.
Right.
And that has been one of the point of differentiation for our platform, as in a way to master employability skills markers or 21st century skill
Right.
markers to get them
Right.
workforce ready. So what we saw in the market was the response was great. We also had a few roadblocks where teachers were like, "Oh, we are already on different platforms where all of our content already sits." Teachers might be teaching 3 courses in the same field, and they were like, "We don't want to transfer all of the content from one platform to another," and we've addressed that. So with the new development of a product, which is an ingestion tool, which is basically going to be able to download massive amount of content from anywhere else into our platform and put in the right buckets.
Okay.
So that's something we're
One of
working
the
on.
That's phenomenal. And for those of you that have worked in LMSs and look at porting from one system to another, it can be a very meticulous, time-consuming, incredible process. And to keep that in mind for the user, and Makumi's doing a great job because what they're doing is they're making it easier for their user base. And so as we're looking
Mhm.
at developing new products, it's not about what the company necessarily needs, it's about what makes it easier for your customer, because
Right.
that thoughtfulness is what adds value. And
Mhm.
you guys use AI, you use a bunch of different things on your platform that really, it's almost no excuses for your customer, because
Mhm.
you've been so thoughtful about the user experience. Incredibly impressed. The One of the
Thank
things
you.
that I think about with Mikumi is that right now schools are trying to figure out, how are we going to go back? How are we going to
Mhm.
reopen? What is that going to look like? And I know it's different from state to state, and I'm going to keep politics out of this completely. But that being said, schools have to figure it out and make it work, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
there's something special about Mikumi because it's not just an online program, right? Can you talk about how it's kind of a hybrid between in classroom engagement
Mhm.
and online?
Right. So that is really, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we found out, and what other school districts are realizing is, first of all, before, whenever you had any other LMSs, the material was not organized. It was not a structured format, which we automatically do. So, like right now, what they're seeing, we're also noticing, is that because it is a single platform for delivery for on-site as well as distance learning, and with the new policies that are coming out, and they're saying that whoever wants to come to school can, but at the same time, whoever wants to do remote learning have to follow at the same time. I'm looking at all of these different forums that teachers are having conversations, and they're losing their mind trying to figure out how the heck they're going to be running their classrooms, as well as keep track of the people in distance learning from home at the same time. And that's something that our platform does very naturally.
Right.
It's basically, all the lesson plans are already in there, and once you set it once you set it in, pick them. It's like very easy for teachers to run the classroom on autopilot once she's organized, he or she. And also, basically, it's automatically recording everything, already has documentation of what has been done. and it's easy to share, the lesson plan. So it's something that the students will not have a problem with because of the basic structure of how the platform is.
Right. Well, and as a teacher, okay, let me just take two hats right now. As a teacher, I can use the same platform for my students that are at home as those that are in the classroom. That's
Mm-hmm.
big in and of itself. I don't have to think about multiple platforms. What works for Jimmy may not work for Julia, all of those
Mm-hmm.
different things. So I love that. As an administrator, how can I support my team when they're using Mekumi? I know that you guys have been very thoughtful about that administrator support mechanism as well.
Right. So for the first time with a platform, you can automatically see what it is that's being done inside the classrooms. We aggregate all the information for you, and you can have visibility inside the classrooms, which will automatically tell you per student how they're following through under each of the teachers in your school district. So that's a visibility that's never been available before, and it aggregates information and data into a dashboard for the school administrators as well to see what the performance is for each of their courses in their school district.
Well, and I love that because I talk to so many districts where they're talking about, oh, we have trouble with this platform and we have trouble with this app. And I say, well, what's your usage data? How many people are engaging in it? How many use cases? And
Mhm.
often ed tech companies are only looking at the data from their end. They're not sharing it with administrators. They're not sharing
Mm.
those things. And so it only hobbles the tech company because then they're not saying, wow, you had 10,000 instances of kids logging
Mhm.
in this year. It looks like it's getting high usage. And here's how much they like the product because you have a rating system for every lesson and every
Right,
scenario.
right. So that's
So
well,
it's much more useful.
like other LMSs will give you exactly what you just said. The insight and analytics is based on how many page views, how long they were logged on for, and that's about it. It does not give you any insights on the content itself because it's not interested in reading the content or telling you that some parts of the content was something that the students understood better or resonated with better. And that's actually one of the things that our teachers who have used it in the school districts this last fall and spring, they said it was amazing that there are real world applications. They actually use
Right,
those words, and that's something we're
right.
focusing on. And also, every single lesson and question and everything is tagged with the 21st century skills. So I understand everybody is already thinking of me, like only thinking right now of how to figure out distance learning versus remote or on site, and they're not even thinking as like workforce readiness anymore. But
Right.
it's kind of looking like this is a 2-year play before vaccines come out.
At
So
least.
you can't stop
Right.
preparing your students as they graduate every year. They still have to go find
Yeah.
jobs, and that's something we address.
Well, and not only that, I mean, school districts, as COVID hit in March, they did the initial knee jerk reaction of, okay, we can use Zoom and we can use, you know, Google for Education, and that should be good. And it was a bit of a short, and those are amazing programs. I'm not knocking those, but those are not long term educational solutions that are related to a district plan and ongoing student support and ongoing teacher support. So, where I'm encouraging our clients that are with districts right now is what is that long horizon solution? You've done the band aid, but what is the long
Mm-hmm.
horizon solution? And some of the challenges that we're hearing are not going to be solved via, you know, Zoom and Google for Education. But there are platforms out there like Mekumi that are a much better long-term solution to what is turning into a long-term challenge, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I don't see, well, one, I think education is forever changed. I think that
Mm-hmm.
digital programming is no longer a nice to have. It's
Mm-hmm.
essential. It's a
Mm-hmm.
core conduit for
Mm-hmm.
content and all of that. So I think education is different forever, and you guys are incredibly well positioned to help be the vehicle to carry that forward. So I mean, just your thoughtfulness again. It comes back to you've really taken a look at what is What are the needs of your client, which is incredibly important? What are the needs of districts? You have good feedback, and you're making good decisions for to be that long-term solution. You're not just a simple, 1+1 is 2 app. You are a
Yeah,
long-term
I
vehicle. Can you
think
talk
it is
about that?
also um, the long-term part of it is kind of playing itself out. It's almost like I'm watching a novel being written because we've been working on this for so long, and we were already envisioning, because I mean, let me back up. It's the foundational blocks and the way our platform was built was so that every piece is modular. So every feature we have can be pulled apart and used separately or sold separately. The other thing is because of the fact that we have created small bite-sized holders for each of the lessons, you can pretty much tag any markers that you want to measure between now and any time in the future. So these are some things that other LMSs or other platforms really couldn't even offer if they wanted to, because that's something that needed to be done at the baseline. In terms of the long-term play, yes, you absolutely still use Zoom and you use all these other applications, but say, for example, you hit record, right? And when you record a call, even with a mentor, say, for example, in the classroom, it'll send you a notification and it will go into the bucket of the main repository. How do you even find that file later? How do you even use it? How do you sort through it? So that's where we actually kind of come in, because you can take all of your resources and instantly put them in the buckets that with related to the topics, and then it starts giving you the analytics for it. That people actually enjoyed, the students really connected with this person, and you can use it for instantly edit your content and use it for future lesson plans. So that's
Right.
I think part incorporating all the on-spot spontaneous innovations that are happening in the classroom to be able to capture it and document it instead of that being a completely separate exercise. And I think that's going to be very critical, especially during this time, as all these wonderful teachers try to figure out what's working for them on site, as well as trying to balance it with distance without losing their mind. My heart really goes out to
Right.
them because I'm like watching all these forums. It's just on Facebook. I'm in two
Mhm.
different teacher forums and I'm just watching all the questions they're asking, and it's pretty
Right.
scary.
Well, and having been in the administrator seat, it's scary from that chair too, right? That's one of the
I'm
reasons I
sure.
wrote an article called "Now What," an open letter
Mm-hmm.
to school leaders, because
Mm-hmm.
it was, I want to be in those conversations with them. I want to be able to coach them and say, "Have you thought about?
Mm-hmm.
Have you considered?" Or let's bat
Mm-hmm.
some ideas around, because everyone's looking to those principals, those superintendents who are, tasked with making those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're looking at the state leadership and the federal leadership, trying to discern what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't envy anyone in a public school setting right now,
Yeah.
because the public expects an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just want to know their kids are in good hands, their kids are going to be safe. And right
Right.
now everyone's trying to address just that base level, and I haven't seen someone confidently say we have that answer. And
Yeah.
so I'm waiting. I'm anxious, and when I see it, I'm going to broadcast it everywhere, because teachers deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're worrying about. So what are the things as a CEO that you stare at the ceiling about, that you worry about, that keep you up at night?
Um, I actually thought about this question, and there's the good, bad, and ugly, I guess. When in general, the United States and more so worldwide, but no, but more in the United States, the education market moves pretty slowly. So if you're a tech company and you're trying to help people solve problems, they like the idea of solving problems, but they also want to just keep their job.
Right.
So they don't move as fast. And I mean, it's like there's also, we are a bunch of mad scientists, visionaries who are light years ahead. And I'm notorious for running projects that are 10 years ahead of my time. But that also means that it's just like that story of Apple. They had the iPhone, 10 years before, and they just shelved it because they didn't think people were ready for it, right? So it's almost like understanding that, okay, so what if you have a brilliant product? So what if your heart is in the right place and you're making all the right decisions and you're being mindful? Running it as a business and making sure that you're telling the right story. So what really keeps me up at night is trying to understand what the story should be, which connects with the people that you're trying to help so that they feel like, okay, I'm scared, I'm anxious, but I think we got this. This person is going to help, this company is going to help us solve the problem and let's walk this path together. So that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things. And the other is essentially no matter what resources you have, trying to understand what is the right way to, allocate your resources because no your development team always wants 5 times more than what you have.
Right.
And you always want more done in less time. So we have that general
That may be a
issue.
familiar theme. Yeah.
Right. Also trying to keep up with changing leadership and your customer verticals. Like in education, it's like it seems like once you've built relationships, it already takes us a year to build relationships with people, and then they change.
Yeah.
So I think that happens more in education than in other places. Trying to understand the landscape and just basically also trying to just stay calm and be steady. So,
Yeah.
you know, keeping your team together kind of thing. So,
Well, and that's such important. I mean, that what's that? You're casting pearls right now. All of those things are so important for new founders, for new leaders, for people with great product ideas. Realizing market fit, realizing
customer
education
fit,
is a different
product fit.
vertical.
Mm-hmm.
For people to say, I have this great product, I want to get it out tomorrow. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're gonna have to downshift a little bit, do our
Right.
quality analysis, do all of those different pieces. But in addition, sometimes the market is not right. I've talked in other podcasts about we're advising many of our clients right now to make sure that their product, that they're iterating on their product, they're a good resource to people right now, that they're maintaining those relationships, that they're having those conversations, because when we get to whatever the next new normal looks like, it's going to be those companies that have been great, thoughtful resources that come out successfully on the other side. Those that came in to explode onto the education market right now are going to be really disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who advises tech companies, uh, I only have two current U.S. based clients. The rest are international clients, and
Oh,
there
that's
are several.
awesome.
Well, we love that. Yeah, thank you. But that being said, the U.S. is kind of in this a little bit of dormancy, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
where we have Canada and Ireland, and we're talking with New Zealand. We just have a big partnership with India, and so lots of different clients from the outside are ready to serve. Right? They
Mm-hmm.
feel like they've kind of adjusted and ready to come to the U.S. market.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the initial conversations with them are, well, okay, they ask the really cute question of what's standard about US education? What is the standard funding per student? What's the standard, amount that is allocated for resources? And what's the
Mm-hmm.
standard timeline? And I have to
Mm-hmm.
look them in the eye and say, there is no standard. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing about the US educational system. We can't even agree on content standards, much less systems of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone needs to be ready for that. I know that you and I, when we were initially talking, you had a good awareness of that, and helping investors understand, helping everybody that's involved with your product understand that every client is a dance is
Mm-hmm.
so important. And to get
Mm-hmm.
those early adoptions like you guys did in Austin is a
Mm-hmm.
major step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those are relationships you can lean to in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just an
Yeah, we've
incredibly interesting
actually,
time.
it's really interesting that you have clients who want to come to the United States because we as a company from since the pandemic started going out of the United States, and right now expanding in Colombia and in Japan. So
Wow, that's
we're
great.
just
Well, and that's part of, you got to be ready to pivot too. I mean, let's be honest.
right.
If the US is dormant right now, you find other markets because the rent doesn't pay itself. So you flex, you
Right,
pivot,
right.
and you run at projects. I commend you guys for
Hmm.
doing that. You have, you guys have great contacts in Japan as it is. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, we're
and
definitely
and
digging
so
those up, and then we've got someone who's very excited in Colombia that we went and met in February, and he has two kids in his 20s who are my kids' age, and they study United States but are obviously stuck in Colombia right now because of the pandemic, and they went full on with me. So we're all learning all about digital marketing and creating all of the digital content for it and sending out emails and just using every resource we have of being creative to put more lead gen out into the market.
so you just alluded to the fact that as a CEO of an ed tech startup, or early stage, I wouldn't say you guys are a startup. You're next, you're beyond that. But the fact is, as a CEO, you wear a bazillion hats, right? You're marketing, you're sales, you're demo
Hmm.
person, you're coder. Can you just talk
Hmm.
to what that, I won't even say a typical day because that's silly because there are no typical days. But what are the hats that you wear as a CEO?
Um, I think it kind of happens in phases. So I spent about, I would say, 3 years in product. Um, and at that time, because my sweet spot and natural talent is in user experience design, I spent a lot of time in product. And once we identified a CTO that works with us out of Japan, once he took over, I moved into business development support as well as digital marketing. And it feels like I'm learning everything from scratch. So it seems like every 2 years or so, I come into like as if it was a department, right?
Right.
And I'm just kind of like, what mega tags, what like snippets, edit. I mean, it's like with one blog post that's going up, I've had to talk to three different people in three different countries and having them teach me. Because before I hire someone to do anything, I first got to know what it is so I can cross check their work later.
Sure.
So I work with a content writer to put my new website up, and then now I'm writing the blog post and basically, inviting people so that I can interview, so I can collaborate on the blog posts and stuff. So you're a strategist before anything. You're a cheerleader, for yourself as well as others. I'm going to give you all the words that you don't use in business.
Do
You
it.
have to be there to watch out to make sure who's about to have a meltdown, and when they have a meltdown, that you're there to talk to them and encourage them. The traditional roles are obviously, if you're super organized, which very few founders are, you do sales, digital marketing, product finance. Above all, you have to be an amazing storyteller, and that's completely work in progress. You find people like you that you get coached on messaging. So wherever you can get the help, and you see how you can help other founders to trade, ideas and concepts. Um,
Right.
but in general, you just kind of have to be the main cheerleader and a source of fuel for the company. Is not a company, it is a living organism. And you've got to
Right.
make sure that all the hearts band together at any given time. That's your job
Nice.
as a CEO.
I'd say that storyteller thing's kind of coming together for you, Sarah. A little impressed right
Thank you.
now.
I learned from the best.
Well, thank you. Now my big red head that looks like Charlie Brown is going to get red, and I'm going to blush. So the piece that a lot of people are going to miss that I think is just an interesting little snippet about Mekumi. Can you talk about what Mekumi means?
It me So the word kumi is a Japanese word for eternally beautiful. And we just, did a play of words, Mekumi, which means I wanted to represent that every person is eternally beautiful at any given time. They're perfect. And if we can help every person recognize how perfect and beautiful they are, they would not have anxiety. They would love what they bring to the world and others, and learning would be effortless. So that's what Mikumi represents. So we're basically, yeah.
No, no, I don't want to step on your words because that, I mean, we talk with so many tech companies and we talk with so many people that are all about the code, the technical, the sterile, the operational. And when I talk with you, it's different because you
Hmm.
bring that heart and that soul and that caringness, that caring to the conversation about your product. And there's a genuine care for the learner, care for the teacher
Hmm.
that I think is a major differentiator for your product. And it's
Hmm.
a leadership driven differentiator. If there was a different
Hmm.
CEO in your cool cheetah print chair that you're in, it would be a different story. But I think that
Hmm.
this is a perfect match of the right CEO with the right product
Hmm. Thank
to
you.
really build something special. So,
Hmm.
I've always admired that. I've never given this speech to you before, but nicely
Thank you.
done. Nicely done
Thank you.
for walking the walk with your product.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So,
I think we also got really lucky attracting those kind of people on our team.
yeah.
My development team out of India, the head developer, the guy who runs, all the developers, anytime he gets, even on his birthdays, he's usually in Dharamsala or the Himalayas meditating. I have two impact investors who are really impact investors versus just to carry the name of it, where they're in it for the long haul. They really want to see a better world that is prepared to receive the brilliance of our future generations. So they feel loved and supported. It's like every step of the way, you just got to, if you can just lay this foundational box of like, don't have shame, feel supported, understand how wonderful you are, then you're just ready for the real world. You'll just easily be able to share yourself and not hold back. And that's what it's all about. If you can help just even one person, that's what we're about.
Very nice. So, I mean, you just hit so many important pieces. Any snippets of advice for a new, I mean, you just gave great advice to an EdTech CEO or founder or someone in a startup. Do you have any? I'm going to shoot to the technical side because you're a rock star there too.
Mm.
The On the technical side, if you're a founder, what are those things that you need to keep an eye on in your product development?
Okay, so if you're super lucky, first of all, don't try to do anything by yourself. I spent 10 years trying to develop companies by myself, and it's like trying to reinvent the wheel. Um, it is better to have a small percentage of a bigger pie than try to hold onto all of your equity. Early on, if you can find founders um, that you can share equity with, and just basically has exactly polar opposite skills than what you do, always try to do things with other people. And just don't be afraid of picking up on the wrong founder. You can always have proper term sheets to protect yourself. And if it's like if they slack off or whatever, their shares don't get vested, and you can always walk out of that relationship. But always keep trying. And that goes true even for development teams. Like for a little while, we had tech guys on our own team, but I didn't feel like they put in the work. And I was asking the right questions, but I didn't know how to verify the technical side
Okay.
with my development team. And now that somebody's come in and they've completely revamped the whole platform in the last 6 months, it was by trial and error, and that's perfectly okay. So as a founder, If you're staring at minus $37 in a bank account, it's okay. It all works out. You just kind of have to really keep it together with your mental health and make sure you celebrate your wins every day. And even with your team, um, one thing that we have this word in development, which is called feature crop. Like you just keep adding new features because you as a founder are just so excited and you're trying to basically cram in more features in a specific time. We have these weekly meetings where we actually, in the beginning of a product, development, we write down every single feature. Like we first start with the objective. We first have a storyboard of each of
Okay.
the roles of who we're trying to serve. So we do the research and find out what does they really care about. And then we turn those into what kind of features and then detail each of the features per click. Because each click is a development time.
Right.
And then we move around all of the schedules for like when they start this development. And then we have Gantt charts and we follow that every week. And things move around. And while you're doing new development, you also have to make sure that it's constantly getting tested. So development team as well as founders tend to be more gravitate towards perfection and they want to stay in their cave as much as possible. So you always need to have someone on your team that's constantly selling air, a vision, even before the products are ready, because by the time you actually close that deal to get tested and get focus groups, it takes a while. So by the time that you converge to that point, just to make sure all both things are happening at the same time. So you just basically get an idea, talk to people, build a baseline, and then release it. Doesn't matter even if it's not perfect. And then get feedback and then build. So
Right.
usually, I don't know if any of that, did that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was
Oh,
getting your
okay, okay.
minimum viable product, getting it out
Yeah,
there,
right.
and then and being of the mindset that you're always going to be iterating. You're always going to be
Right. But
improving.
I
You're
think those
always
are
going to
really,
be
the reason I broke it down and didn't call it minimal viable product is because we know those words and we don't really understand how
right.
rough on the edges a minimal viable product is. And we keep trying to polish it before we
Right.
release. So make
Yes.
sure someone else is charged of releasing it because if the founder is in charge of it, it's never going to get released.
Right.
So, but in the end of the day, at the end of the day, just remember to celebrate a win for your
Yeah.
team members as well as for yourself, because that's really what keeps your sanity. And that's a fairly recent lesson that I got from my business partner, like maybe just last 2 months.
Right.
So
Very
that's,
good. Okay. So shifting gears for just a second, one of the things we like to do on the show is to give a shout out to other companies and other startups and recognize that there are amazing people doing incredible things in a variety of
mhm,
markets. So
mhm.
do you have a favorite piece of tech that you have or a piece of software or an app you can't live without?
So recently I stumbled onto something that a female founder told me about. I'm part of this forum again on Facebook called Female Founders of Texas, where we put out questions. All different female founders just put out questions, and they just are very helpful. So I actually just kind of put out a question about digital marketing, and somebody instantly responded. I wish I remembered her name right now. Oh, Sarah Worthy. Yeah. So she told me about this application called Cloud HQ. So if you basically, it's an extension that you install with Gmail or Chrome, and you get lots of different newsletters and blogs that basically
Right.
come to your email. You can use that extension, and it automatically copies the entire template of
Oh,
whatever
wow.
it is that you saw. And then it becomes editable and you can copy the same thing, put in all of your own text and images and send it out.
That is a
So,
huge time saver. They say mimicry is the
yeah,
biggest, compliment that
yeah,
somebody digitized that. I think that's pretty
yes.
cool.
Yes, I think this is really, really powerful because I was just running into roadblocks with MailChimp because they had templates and you had to be a paid subscriber to be using the templates, otherwise they didn't match. You couldn't change the images or go to Canva. Like it was a nightmare.
Right.
So I was just looking up, I'm like, oh, I like that format. Just copy and then just change the image.
Right.
So it
Nice.
worked really well. So that's one. And the other one is, of course, Canva.
Mhm.
Um, Canva is basically a digital design software. InVision's great for tech developers, especially on the design side, especially when founders are trying to like do chicken scratch. You can do the chicken scratch on screen
Right.
and explain your ideas and flow. And the designers can convert that into actual screens, and it holds all of your design screens that you can share automatically with the developers.
Right.
That's great. And the other one is it's called Pomodoro Timer.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me what that one is because that sounds like it's related to cooking.
Pomodoro means tomato in Italian.
Right,
So
right.
Pomodoro Timer is essentially the tab that you open and it has a countdown for 25 minutes. And that's when you can't really open Facebook or anything else and you just have to work it. And just it makes you
Okay.
productive because it's 25 minutes and you're like,
Right.
it's just to basically increase productivity for very creative people who have trouble focusing.
I don't know who you're talking about. I'm just not sure. I may have never encountered someone like that, but if I do, okay, I'm gonna download it as soon as we're done. Um, Sarah, it has been so nice talking with you today. You're a joy to work with. You're a joy to engage with. I wish Mekumi nothing but the best. Of course, I know you guys are on
Thank
the right
you.
track. Mekumi.com, right?
Yep, the new website
Okay,
went up. It's
very good, and it
we're
looks
excited.
good. I encourage everybody to take a look. It is truly different than the other products that are out there, and it's due to the dedication of Sarah and her team. I can't
Thank
say enough
you.
good things about her, about the team, their board, their investors. They've got something special going on that everybody should check out.
Thank you so
That
much.
being said, oh, of course. That being said, other special companies I have to thank are our sponsors. We're working with workvivo.com. We're working with SchoolStream and STEM Minds. Incredible products, incredible companies that we don't just put our name on anything, and we don't just associate with any company. We vet our companies that we work with, and those are three, as well as Mekumi, that I highly recommend you take a look at. Even if you're a tech company looking at what are models of how to do it right, these companies are absolutely incredible. That being
Thank
said, we
you.
look forward to hearing from you. Sarah, thank you. If you have comments, please add them below. And we look forward to engaging with you guys next time on the podcast. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Bye.